Yes, indeed. Those gentlemen are joining us now. Honorable Ray Emmanuel, Secretary to the People's Democratic Party in Imo State, as well as Mr. Dennis Amakwe, former Assistant Director with State Security Services. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today on the program. Good morning. All right. Let me start with you, Honorable Emmanuel. Give us a sense of what's going on, where you are now, because not one, but twice. Many just wonder, what next? What's the feeling at the moment about what's going on in the States?
Well, there is a sense of inertia, shock. People are amazed. People are just like waking up from a bad dream. Is it really possible? Did this actually happen? Is it possible on earth that the highest security fortress in Imo State, where there is a seat of government, the headquarters of the Nigerian Police, Correctional Service, where the brigade commander lives, tactical commands of the security agencies, about 6-7 of them are situated, where there's the police barracks, where top police personnel live, where the government house is the next neighbor and the correctional center on the other side of the same environment, where you have within the same scenario over 13 commercial banks with the full complements of policemen and security men providing security around those commercial banks, where you have the 34 Artillery Brigade, 15 minutes drive to the seat of government, where you have the Nigerian Air Force, 20 minutes drive to get to the seat of power. And this thing happened within hours. Nothing happened. Nobody challenged them. No reinforcements came. For hours, people in the whole residence of Owerri were on, it was like an earthquake was taking place. And people were asking, and nobody had an answer, and nobody could say what was actually happening. We are saying that no lives were lost. That may be true by the facts available. But I tell you, a lot of people are hospitalized, arising from shock. Those who have high blood pressure, many of them have been affected now. And as I speak to you, in the whole of the Imo State, in the past 72 hours, you can't cite any security operatives anywhere. So there is palpable fear, tension, and this pending phobia that sooner than later, something worse can happen. That is the present mood and environment that exists and pervades in Owerri, Imo State capital. It's a shock. Everybody is in shock. Tell me, how come this could happen with all the guns wielding personal security, with the facility to call for enforcement? And everybody was like everybody took sleeping pills and went to bed and allowed these hoodlums. For us, this is not an attack on anybody, on the government, as they want to say. This is an attack on the very fabric of Imo State. It's an attack on the people. For me, it is a coup against Imo citizens. We are in a state of shock. And Imo people are waiting for explanation. What we want to hear, unfortunately, what we are hearing are things that don't make sense. Political opposition. Who are the opposition? Is it PDP and the secretary of PDP? I have no catapult. All I have are the instruments of democracy, voicing out my opposition. Is it within APC? Because we know in APC, there are oppositions in opposition in APC. Which faction of APC is responsible for this? If it is police, if it is politically motivated. Now, is it also the question we should ask ourselves? Primarily is, who did this thing? And how come this was able to allow to? There was a big failure of intelligence. Who are those responsible? In other crimes by now, would have had people being dismissed, mass resignations, and we are here, political opposition, those politicians. Soon after this, there have been several other incidents. Most police stations in Imo State are deserted. Policemen are running away from duty for fear of their lives. Of course, you know that the Nigerian men and women of the Nigerian police are ill-motivated, ill-equipped, ill-trained. it is a disaster.
Well, you know,
We
yeah, just, I mean, yes, unfortunately, there was a lifeless body, which they say was as a result of stampede in the area. But those questions are valid in terms of what really happened, how did they happen, who's responsible. Let's bring in Mr. Makori on this one. He's formerly with the intelligence community. I think he still keeps tabs with them. Well, Mr. Makori, those are the big questions because there's word out there that there should have been some intelligence. So tell us, so from what your analysis or impression is, could there have been an absence of intelligence or somebody didn't do something somewhere?
Well, there is enough intelligence, enough actionable intelligence, actionable in the sense that it allows for space for people to execute it 1 week ahead of this particular event, and then, of course, 72 hours before the event, and then, of course, 48 hours before the event. So 3 times the Nigeria police was informed by the DSS that this is going to happen because, of course, some suspects that are being geolocated around the area were found surveilling the prisons and the police headquarters. But you know, in a lackadaisical way, when the intelligence will come, they throw it by the side, and then, of course, when something happens, then everybody runs around. Number one, of course, the prison the correctional center is not well situated. It has its own problems, and then maybe we can talk about that later.
In terms of the level of intelligence here, yes, you say the police were, but we also understand, what about the security detail attached to the government? Could they also have gleaned from some of this intelligence? Do they usually pass it on to them so that they will be aware, and in case maybe the other security outfits miss it, then they communicate?
The actioning party is actually the police, because when they say, okay, a particular installation or facility is being under threat, then the actionable party will go ahead and correct it. But for details, for security details, they will have intelligence that pertains to the executive protection, that is, the safety of the governor himself. You know, but for that particular facility, I think it was the police.
Does that mean that the DSS cannot action anything or doesn't action any activity at all?
The DSS is not a fighting force. They have a protective department that is basically responsible for the security of persons, VIPs, very important persons. But when it comes to fighting, that's why they always liaise with what they call sister agencies, either the police or the military.
But, you know, this happened like 2 days back to back, and it's not the first. We also understand from information in public domain that this has happened like 5 times within 3 months or thereabouts. Is this still a problem of intelligence, or are some people not just doing their jobs?
Well, I think some people are just too lazy to do their job because right now, in fact, let me put it this way. Lagos, the same intelligence had been coming around, and of course they are proactive in the sense that, oh, if this is, remember, we'll be saying this on TV. If it is happening in the northeast, it could happen in Lagos. And many people, oh, Lagos is too far away, nothing will happen. It came to the middle belt. From there, it moved to the southwest, and now we're in the southeast. And Lagos itself have taken proactive steps right now, especially when it comes to securing correctional facilities in the state. And I think that's what other states should follow now, because they can't sit back and wait until it happens to them.
Okay, let's take this back to Honorable Imiana in Owerri. I mean, you're right there on ground, and this is not the first time this has happened. In fact, over the past 2 months, we've had 5 different attacks. We just had another one after this recent one on the police headquarters and the custodial center. There was another attack on a police facility in Imo State. So we've had 6 of them, an upgrade release of inmates. And for the governor, I mean, like you referenced, he said that this is a plot by a group of aggrieved politicians to destabilize the government of the APC. And he says he has done some thorough investigation and he has credible lead on sponsors of the hoodlums. So there has been a trend here. The governor believes that this is the work of aggrieved politicians. What do you expect to follow this sort of statement?
Well, I think I see a very unfortunate scenario emerging here, because all patriotic Imolites should be asking some specific questions. And if the governor is sure that this is the work of politicians, I expect the governor and the security agencies to immediately move in and arrest such politicians and arraign them before the court of competent jurisdiction. But I tell you, that is not the case. Let us concede, but let us accept, but not concede that this is the work of a few politicians. How come it was possible? How come it happened in the first instance? Why is it? And it is not just now. It's not a singular incident. It is ongoing. It has been happening. It is still happening. And yet we know the perpetrators and we are keeping quiet. And when you say it's the handwork of opposition, which opposition? Is it the APC opposition? Because the greatest opposition we have against this government is APC within APC. Or is it PDP? Well, the state government says it's opposition, politicians. The former IG said it was IPOP. How come within such a short period we're able to conclude who at this side? Which means at the initial, we knew that and refused to do anything about that. But let me tell you, this is clearly a fail of governance. Pure, simple. Some people have failed in their duties. Some people there's a complete loss of confidence in the security agencies, in the government of the day, and in everything about this APC specific. I want us to be honest. I want the federal government to come out clean and accept that corruption across the country. Imo State is not isolated. Unfortunately, Imo State is involved. But Imo State is known for has been known as one of the most peaceful states in Nigeria, right from the time of empire. Unfortunately, in the recent past, all this story, the youths are not being employed. That's Imo State has been rated by the Nigerian Board of Statistics Agency. They have rated Imo State as the unemployment capital of Nigeria. Is the government addressing that? Is unemployment not a panacea, a veritable variable for criminality? When a state is declared by an APC government Board of Statistics that Imo State is the unemployment capital of Nigeria, and if the 56% of Imo youths are unemployed, and we're talking about politicians.
Right, so for you, you don't agree that this is the work of aggrieved politicians, right?
I completely disagree at profiling anybody. My take is that a responsible government, realizing the mayhem that took place in Imo State, will go into introspection. Take time to ask itself a soul-searching question. How come this was able to happen? Who are those responsible?
Okay.
Within
Honorable.
and without. Let me tell you, from what happened, if you are in the world, and you know where we are talking about, you know that this couldn't have happened without some measure of complicity, without some measure high level of incompetence, without some people, without complete relation and abandonment of duty. These are basic facts. The government should be asking questions and not to come and try to profile. It is the cheapest thing to do political opponents. This is a criminal act by criminals. If a politician is involved, he should be treated like a criminal. But not to say, when you say politician, I'm a politician. I'm in no position. Am I the person involved?
Honorable, I understand your position.
I'm saying that both the IGP
Right.
who came up overnight without any investigation said it was IPOB was wrong. If you knew what have you gone into forensic examination of ammunitions used, no arrests have been made, and you have concluded that they are politicians, they are IPOB, you don't know whether they are politicians, whether it's IPOB
well,
or
Honorable,
ESN,
I
or
certainly
foreign
understand.
You don't know.
I understand your position, because reading aggrieved politicians or hearing the governor say that, for some people, they just see that as the PDP. So I understand your position. But let's bring this back to Lagos and speak with Mr. Makri. I mean, listening to Honorable and seeing the positioning of the custodial center, the state headquarters of the Nigeria police, I mean, that should be one of the most guarded facilities in the state, and which is not far from the government house, about 350 meters. So seeing that positioning on the one hand, but hearing the former IGP saying that preliminary investigations revealed that the attackers who came with different weapons are members of the proscribed IPOB, an Eastern Security Network. And listening to the governor yesterday saying that it's not about IPOB. Said, yes, we agree, we have aggrieved IPOB members, but I can tell you those who are doing this destruction, most of them were brought in from outside Imo State. And he says there's been thorough investigation, and he thinks aggrieved politicians are at work here. Why the dissonance, really?
Well, I actually listened to the governor's speech, and he's correct in the sense that there is investigation still going on. I'm very, very sure that he's very aware of some of the root causes and the people that are involved. Because I know that the security agencies are feeding him with reports as they go along. But like he said, until the investigations are completed, we cannot go ahead and start making assumptions. That's why I was very worried about the former IG's statement that it was IPOB, because there is no evidence to support that. Even if it is IPOB, the evidence should support. That's what we've always been saying. If there is an investigation, it is put in place to gather information which can be used in prosecution. But when you come out and make a political statement or just off the head kind of statement, it becomes a problem. So that is on one side. Now, everybody is saying that that facility, and including the government house and the police station and banks and everywhere, those areas are very, very, that's part of
why so many are asking those questions, if they say preliminary investigations. But I understand Makwe has got a question for you as well. Go ahead, Makwe.
Indeed, I have two questions, one for Honorable Emana and one for Mr. Dennis Amakri. But let me start with Mr. Emana. First, Honorable Emana, the first thing that came out in the very first submission he made on the program about the mood of the people in Imo State and the fact that everybody was surprised and shocked that such a thing could happen in the state, seemed to say that, he saw this beyond party lines, and that, first and foremost, the state needed to be put first. I'm just wondering, barring the statement of yesterday coming from the governor, which seems to have annoyed him a bit, I mean, from the submissions he's put forward later on, you do sound a bit annoyed, sir. However, before that time, did you think that just to send a message home that this is beyond politics, this is about the very fabric of Imo State, and this is about the government, well, when I mean government, not just the people in power right now, but in terms of authority, the fabric of authority being assaulted, and the people of Imo State as well, by extension. Do you think that there will be some move by your party, other parties, to reach out to the government to say, we have a big problem on our hands, how can we help?
To reach out to the government to say, we have a big problem on our hands, how can we help?
So at this critical period, a responsibility. The problem we have in the state is that everything is politicized. And the government will have in the state, considering the circumstances of this emergency, sees every critical comment as wanting to take over or drive them out of power. But as politicians, we are also citizens of the state. And what has happened, the people, the entire population of Imo State, less than 10% are politicians. The issue should be, the governor should have taken some time to reach out and summon an emergency stakeholders meeting, not APC stakeholders meeting. The problem we have in Imo State today is the heightened of state institutions, but tribalizing governance into APC said, APC to the nonsense. Look, as I speak to you, I'm under persecution by the state government because I say things they don't like. My properties, wherever I have things concerning my person, the government would rather do the illegal thing to ensure that I get punished because I'm a member of PDP. So going forward, it is unfortunate, and I know our governor should be more intelligent than this. People who are patriotism and may not be doing the right thing. What needs to be done here is to ask critical questions. How come this happened? Who did this thing? And why would the situation arise in the first instance where we have 56% of unemployed youths in the state? How in every sane society, how will a state be governed? How will a state be stable without a high level of criminality?
Sam,
when
I have to interrupt you because we have to go on break. I will certainly ask a follow-up to that question, when we come back from this break. Please stay with us. Well, indeed, we're still talking about the attacks that happened in Imo State, and we have with us Honorable Emana, who is in the PDP in Imo State. Just before we went on break, you were answering the question as to why it was going to be a bit difficult to reach out to the Imo State government because you also believe that this is beyond the attacks happening in Imo are beyond politics. But I'm wondering, I mean, you have said how personally you are being persecuted over your comments in the past. But saying that you see that this is beyond politics, do you think anything can be done to make, to bring government to the table or to help government realize, and the people as well, realize that this is not about partisan politics, this is about the very soul of Imo State? What are your thoughts in that direction?
Thank you very much. I think going forward, let us try and do the right thing. One of the right things to do is that the governor of Imo State should sack his special advisor on security for failing to anticipate this development and not to share, not to blame again. The commissioner of police, the brigade commander, the director of SS in
Oh dear, I'm afraid that the connection seems to be very poor. We can hardly hear you. While we work on that to see if we can re-establish connection and see if we can get better audio, let me come to Mr. Makri. Mr. Makri, you have said that there was actionable intelligence 7 days before, at least a week before, 48 hours before, that something could have been done about this, and that there was word that there was going to be an attack on the facilities. But when we link that up, because the reason you gave was that there was some surveillance, by some people who had their members in the prisons. I want to be sure that that was what I heard.
Not in the prison, but outside the prison. They have observed these people that have been surveilling the prison and then, of course, the police headquarters. Now, one thing about this, the location is even very bad. Because for a correctional facility, the static security is very, very poor. Very, very poor in the sense that it is easily accessible. There is no defensible, what we call defensible space. whereby you have to go through some hurdles before you get to the prison itself. The one in Anambra State is a pointer and an instructive for those in Imo State, Owerri, to have taken enough precautions. And when this intelligence was given to them, it was not executed. And that's where we are. In fact, when I think the former IGP
you say
found
that
out,
this was about
he has
people
to...
looking for their members. I'm just trying to get this. If this is what you're saying, that there were people who had been looking at these two facilities, the police headquarters and also the Nigerian prisons. Were they looking to free their members or, I don't know, that seems to be what is coming out from the statement that you have made. The second point I'd like you to also address quickly is whether or not members of government also get this intelligence in security reports that are filed to the chief executive officer.
Okay, first of all, you have two questions there. The first one is the surveillance. Surveillance can be carried out on anybody. It can be carried out on any installation. The thing is that it will be, you might not know except you are trained to counter a surveillant. You know, you will not know. But surveillance will be carried out when you see the same person coming around the particular facility, looking at it and passing by and coming back again and looking at the exit and the entry points and stuff like that. That is very true. They picked up that surveillance. Now, the second part of it, the surveillance report or the intelligence coming from that surveillance is not shared with everybody. It is shared with the action party. The action party in this case is the police. That, look, we have some people observing the facility, including your headquarters, you know, and nothing was done about it. So these are the two questions, the answers you were asking.
But we do know on a daily basis that chief executive officers and governors in general and anybody who is in charge of a domain receives security reports on a daily basis. Isn't that correct?
That's very correct. All security reports are shared to, first of all, to the governor in a state. Then it is shared to other sister agencies like the police, the military. If there is a military installations there, all of them got this particular report. So the governor is very much aware.
In other words, well, I think you've already hit the nail on the head that he would have received this sort of information. What would have been expected of him to do?
Well, the thing is that some of these information that comes to him will be discussed in a Security Council meeting where everybody is sitting down, you know, and everybody will contribute to how to counter it. But apparently nothing was done. But you can see that even the governor was referring to that particular report in his statement that they know that some people, that's why he was saying that it is not IPOB. But
if he says it's not IPOB, and police said preliminary report said it was IPOB, which security report is who acting on?
There is no preliminary report from the police yet. That's why when the IG said that it
preliminary
was
investigation.
Yes. Yeah, there should be an investigation, and after the investigation, a report will come out to tell people.
So why will the former IGP say preliminary investigation says it's IPOB, and then
there is no preliminary investigation? It might be just guesstimations because within 24 hours he was there, and I don't even think that they were even sitting down there to write a report for him.
No, this statement, he made it before he went to Imo State. And then when he went to Imo State, he said that preliminary investigations have revealed that the attackers who came in their numbers, and he was specific, with sophisticated weapons such as general-purpose machine guns, submachine guns, AK-49 rifles, rocket-propelled grenades, and it went on, are members of the proscribed IPOB and the Eastern Security Network. So that didn't sound like guesstimate. Are you saying the former IGP
I think the first part might be correct, where They must have told you that these people came, they were more than 100, they were carrying AK-47s or other kinds of weapons. That's the first part of it. The second part is identifying who they are. And I don't think the identification was made properly before he made his statement.
So this will imply that the former IGP didn't have his facts right, or what?
He doesn't have his facts right, because I don't see how he could have identified them. You identify people by either arresting some of them or, you know, from what they were saying, but no, there was no person that was arrested and asked, where are you from, or who are you? Who are you people? You know, that I don't think happened.
But do you have contrary, you know, facts? Do you have contrary evidence to that?
Well, the SSS has carried out, is still carrying out investigations. They want to, even the people that they saw that were doing the surveillance were not properly identified at that time. So I think further investigation is going to show them who these people are. Because if some arrests are made, during interrogation, they should be able to identify who this group are.
Honorable Mana, you're making a point. Could you go ahead, please?
Yes, I was saying that the governor of Imo State, by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is the chief security officer of the state. And there is complete failure on his part to provide security for Imo people. Ordinarily, I would have expected the governor of Imo State to resign and apologize to Imo people for failing to provide them with the security which is an oath he swore. But if he finds that to difficult, as the first thing I expected him to do was to sack all his officers associated with security issues. He says here on security. We expect for a rebuilding of confidence in the security apparatus of the state. And to be able to do this, the Commissioner of Police, the Director of SSS, all of them involved, the brigade commander, who are at the head of these agencies that failed to provide security for Igbo people, should all resign and let them the government convene a security emergency to talk about security. Because this is it's not the one-off thing. It's ongoing. There's no guarantee that it will stop. It's not only happening in Imo State, it's happening in the whole of Nigeria. And other regions, other sections of Nigeria are sitting back to protect themselves. We expect the government to be at the head of how do we protect ourselves instead of profiling people and dropping names of opposition. The challenge here is not political. The challenge here is failure of governance. And that is the question. Come with solutions. Request for assistance. Let us all provide security. When these criminals are attacked, they don't know who is APC. They don't know who is PDP. As we speak, with the unleashing of over almost 2,000 criminals from the prisons, nobody is safe in this state anymore. So, so the government of Imo State has failed and should stop passing the ball. Should stop the blame game. He should acknowledge his failure, apologize to in this state. Otherwise, what things will happen, I will continue to pass ball. This is not about PDP, it's not about APC, it's about the safeguarding of lives and property of Imo people. And the first way, the first step is to begin to find a solution. How do we engage the army of unemployed youth in Imo State, roaming the streets, graduates, people with doctorate degrees? There are no industries in the state, no viable establishments. Their parents are not being paid salary as I went through. Their pensioners are not being paid. There is restlessness in the land, for crying out loud. We need emergency solutions to this emerging crisis, looming disaster that is this impending doom, this impending catastrophe. It is not about lip service, granting press conferences here and there. We need urgent, we need concrete solutions to our problems.
All right, and Honorable Ray Mana, Secretary for the People's Democratic Party in Imo State, as well as Mr. Dennis Amakwe, former Assistant Director with the SSS. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us today on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.